Hi guys, and welcome back once again to Jonesy's question time. I know it's been a while since the last one, but in perfect honesty, it's because not really many of you sent any questions in since the last one. The questions coming up are just from two people, so it's kind of made me think whether you guys are actually wanting me to do it anymore. This year seems to be less interest in it, which isn't a problem. If people think I need to move on from it or change it up a little bit, then that's fine. But if you could let me know, have a bit of feedback, then that would be much appreciated, so I can, maybe possibly start having a rethink about it all and everything. So it's not going to be a very long one today. Going to keep it sort of nice, quick and simple. But yeah, if you could just sort of give me some of your feedback, whether you want me to continue the series, if you think I should stop it, or if you think I just kind of need to have a little bit of a revamp of it all and change it round a bit, then I will quite happily do that. So let's get into today's first question, which is what are the best things that you did at university? Very general question, really. Away from the course, university, I can't say I enjoyed too much. First year in halls of residence, it wasn't that I didn't get on with my flatmates, it was just there wasn't a big it wasn't a group that spent a lot of time together, put it that way. And because I've always kind of struggled with my confidence, I was really properly on my own in that block. The only other person I knew, or that I'd gone to uni with that I knew from high school, was a couple of blocks away. So I find it very hard to come out of my shell in that situation. Like I say, the people that I lived with were lovely, and it's not that I didn't get well, apart from one person who was a complete bitch. Apart from that, I got on with the people at university perfectly fine. In my little apartment block thing. So yeah, first year was kind of difficult socially. I mean, I got on with the people on my course and everything, and we did a few things here and there, but I didn't really get up to that much. And at the time, the relationship that I had, she was living in York, so I was doing a lot of travelling to York and back and home and everything. So yeah, nothing much happened there. And then second year, I lived in a house with the friend that I mentioned, but that wasn't really an enjoyable experience for a few reasons. And then by the third year, I was just commuting from home anyway. So, like, away from the course in university, I didn't really get up to much. I didn't do that much, which, looking back, I don't so much regret it, but it would have been nice to get more involved in a few more things, because I feel like I went through university without actually properly experiencing the university life in a way. But that was down to my own fault and own reasons and everything. So like I said, I don't particularly regret it, but maybe wish I could have done a few things a bit differently. But the course itself, there were quite a few enjoyable bits. I managed to interview quite a few people sort of involved in sport. I managed to interview Adi White, who used to play for Leeds, a young local lad. We had to do a project which included sort of an interview with someone in the sporting world. It could have been anyone, famous or not, but yeah, my friend managed, I can't even remember how he did it, but he managed to get in touch with Adi. And yeah, we managed to go into Thorpe Arch. We interviewed him on the training pitches. We managed to go around Thorpe Arch filming various things. We met Simon Grayson, even though he didn't speak to us. So that was pretty awesome, just kind of hanging around with Adi White for an afternoon. Really nice lad as well, really great guy. I was kind of sad that things didn't work out for him at Leeds United, but really great guy, Adi. That was kind of a big high point. I interviewed Andy Ritchie as well whilst he was at BBC Radio Leeds at the time. Work experience was fantastic. At the time, I used to work with Yorkshire Radio, which was a really good experience. Again, through that, I managed to interview various people in rugby and football and everything. During the course itself, meeting journalists, Peter Smith from Sky Sports, He's on Sky Sports News and does reporting and everything. Chris Irvine, should I say, who works at the Times, is the rugby correspondent there. Dave Davenport, who used to work and has worked for like Calendar and other TV news companies. So all things like that, yeah. I mean, the course itself was amazing. You know, the things that I was able to do, and people, that I was able to interview and talk to. You know, I remember doing a piece on Guiseley. I had to go down and sort of make my own radio package up, so it included... I did that... No, sorry, tell a lie. I did that for work experience at Yorkshire Radio, which was actually aired. They were sort of doing little bits on local clubs. So this is well before they were in the conference, Guiseley. And I think they were just getting ready for possibly a run to Wembley in one of the sort of like the trophies, like lower league trophies. So yeah, I had to put my own radio package together. So I talked to the manager at the time. I talked to the club secretary. I talked to the captain, who I can't remember his name, but I think he now plays for like Cambridge or Halifax or someone. I can't quite remember. Anyway, but yeah, so that was a great experience. So all things like that are amazing to do. So yeah, those are the sort of the high points and the real big things that I take away from university anyway. So yeah, good question there. Thank you very much. Yeah, I wouldn't ever put anyone off university. I would probably, you do get a lot out of it. I would just probably make people think twice about going. A lot of pressure is put on kids to go to university and get that education. But it isn't that important if you don't go. You do get a lot from it, but it's a lot of money to, spend when you're not guaranteed to get a career out of it. So yeah, anyway, moving on. I could talk for ages about that. Did you pass your driving test first time, and did you find learning to drive hard? I did pass it first time. I passed it first time with 3. I can't remember. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 minors. I think you're allowed. Well, you're allowed no major faults, obviously, or any dangerouses. But I think you're allowed like 15 minors, something like that. And I got either 2 or 3. One was for not checking my wing mirrors properly at a roundabout, and the other was for going up a steep hill in third and not going down in second. But apart from that, yeah, I passed first time, and I honestly could not believe it at the time. Because, yeah, the learning process had been awkward for me because I was so nervous when I first decided to start. 'Cause, I mean, I started fairly late, because obviously a lot of people nowadays, as soon as you turn 17, everyone's wanting to learn to drive. And I was surrounded by 2 really close friends that did that. And I just wasn't bothered. For ages I was not bothered about driving or owning a car or anything. So I went through sort of, the last section of high school and through university and everything just with no interest to drive. And then I left university, and that sort of first year I thought, you know what? It probably will be the best in the long run if I do that. So yeah, I decided to do it, and I actually ended up having 2 different driving instructors. The first one was a guy who I got along really well with. He was a Leeds United fan, so we spent a lot of the time just talking about that, but he was very, very laid back and easy going. So when I started out, I quite enjoyed it, and I didn't find myself getting too nervous about it, and I thought I was progressing fairly well, and he was saying the same. And then all of a sudden he couldn't take me anymore because he'd failed his own bloody driving instructor test. So then that kind of knocked my confidence because it made me think, like, well, if he's failed it, how have I actually been bad all along? And then the second guy who took me on was actually, my ex was learning to drive at the same time, so she told her instructor, and he said that he'd take me on. And again, this guy was lovely. He was really guy. I think he was called Tamir. But yeah, really nice, lovely guy, but he was very kind of strict and a lot more serious, and you couldn't have as much fun with him. And it was at that point that I started to hate learning to drive. I remember one in particular, I actually had a practice test, because we're sort of getting to the point of 30 lessons or something like that. I can't quite remember. And it just went so terribly wrong. Really bad hill start, like at a junction, and it just could not have gone worse. I remember coming home and I started crying because I thought, I can't do this. But then, yeah, like I said, I was really nervous. I didn't think it was going well, and he said, I think you're ready for your test, and then, I bloody passed it first time. So, yeah, it's something that once it was over, I was so glad I would never have to learn to drive again. And because then, like now driving, I mean, I passed in 2011, I think. Does that sound right? God, no. Have I been driving 5 years? It's either 2008 or 2008. It's either 2011 or 2012. I can't remember. So yeah, I've been driving either 4 or 5 years, and it's just so natural now. I mean, if I was to take my driving test now, I'm not 100% sure if I'd pass it. But I mean, they do say that. I mean, they say that they're just there to help you pass your test. A lot of the things you always gain your own habits and that driving. I consider myself to be a fairly decent driver. I consider myself a safe driver at least. But yeah, some of the habits that I do probably would mean that I wouldn't pass it now. And the theory test is just a piece of piss. I mean, it's just common sense, the majority of it. So, yeah, if any of you out there are coming up to doing your driving lessons or your test or anything, then, yeah, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. This question's a bit null and void. Who will win the 2015 League Cup final? Well, Man City have just won it 3-1 on penalties. I only watched a bit of it. It wasn't the best. Liverpool, Man City. I wanted Man City to win, and I thought Man City would win. So that kind of answers that question. Are you a fan of Adele? No, I can't stand Adele. Even since she first kind of popped on the scene, I just could not stand her whining and moaning and just, oh no, I'm not a fan. Just for that reason, just every single song to me just seems to be the same, just her moaning about something in her life and things that have gone wrong, and even though she's happy in her life, she's still moaning about something, and I can't warm to her at all, like in interviews and other things. I don't like her persona and everything. So no, the answer to the short answer to that question is no, I do not like Adele. And finally, are you a fan of Peter Kay? Yes, I am. I'm a big fan of Peter Kay. I've been a fan of Peter Kay. Probably, I think the first thing I probably watched would have been the first series of Phoenix Nights. So, I mean, we're talking 2001, I think. So, obviously, at that age, I remember enjoying it, but obviously there was a lot of the humour that I wouldn't particularly have understood or got. So, for me, Phoenix Nights is something that has, improved and got better with age, with me at least. Understanding a lot more of the comedy. But then after that, I sort of started watching Peter Kay's stand-up, which I absolutely loved. I mean, the first one I watched was obviously I think his first one was Top of the Blackpool Tower. Is it Top of the Peter Kay Top of the Tower or something? And then I remember watching, because his first TV thing that he did was that Peter Kay thing, which was kind of a sketch. No, it wasn't a sketch show. It was a show where each week it was sort of done in a mockumentary style, kind of very early mockumentary style, where he was playing the part of different characters each week that are all set in this same location area in Bolton. And, they all kind of intertwine slightly, and characters would appear and that all be mentioned. And I absolutely loved that. That's the first time I really kind of fell in love with his stuff and realised, he's a very, very clever writer when you look at that kind of stuff. And yeah, I've always loved his stand-up. Obviously, he's gone kind of a little bit quieter over the past few years in the fact that he doesn't do as much TV or touring, or if he does tour, it's just kind of the same tour over and over and over again. Whether I'm as big a fan of him now as I am sort of as his old stuff is in question, really. Was it Car Share that's just been on that he did with one of his old acting sort of partners? I kind of started watching that and fairly enjoyed it, but I didn't finish it. There was no real interest there. So I do like Peter Kay, and I am a fan, but more of his earlier stand-up and his earlier TV. Like Phoenix Nights for me is just all-time one of my favourite TV shows ever. That was just so clever, so funny. and that was the mixture of writers. You know, it wasn't just Peter Kay there. You know, there was Neil Fitzmaurice doing stuff. You know, Dave Spiker was helping out, and various other people as well. And like I say, that Peter Kay thing was a thing of genius as well. So yeah, when he's done his other stuff, that it's not been too bad. But like the whole, you know, reality show thing and Geraldine and all that wasn't, you know, up to standard, not up to scratch for me. But yeah, it gets a lot of stick for his stand-up style. Just, you know, people just fob him off as an observational comedian. But, you know, I think he's a lot more than that. I think he's, you know, he's a very clever man, Peter Kay. And yeah, I think I'll always sort of be a fan, like I say, more of his earlier stuff. So yeah, there we go. That's all the questions from this week. Like I say, all those just came from 2 people. So if you do want to see more of this, then do let me know, and do obviously send your questions in, keeping it that varied style. But if you do want to see changes made, then again, do let me know. Think, you know, any ways that I could, you know, revamp it a little bit. You know, it'd help me a lot. Or if you're just sick of it, then again, do let me know for all 3 of those options. So thank you for those that have sent your questions in. If you do want to send your questions in, then leave them in the comments below, just on this video, or at my Twitter at ChrisJonesLUFC. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and I will see you all very soon.